How close was Gronk to playing yesterday?
I don't know. He was inactive.
Did he have a shot to play?
He was inactive.
I mean, going into the day, was there a chance that he would play, or did you guys know?
He was inactive for the game.
How about Danny?
He was inactive too.
So I know that they were inactive. Did either of
They
them
were
shot
inactive,
going
so they
into the
didn't
game?
play.
I think you have an idea how close they were, right?
Or they weren't able to play. What do you want, some big percentage points?
Well, I mean, you know, if
I don't-
were
they
close
couldn't
going
play,
into the day, going into the day, did you know they wouldn't play?
They were inactive.
And that's the answer to my question.
They were inactive. It's as simple as that.
You are listening to Offensive Lines with Marlon and Boyd. Small stakes NFL gambling for the average fan.
Welcome to Offensive Lines for Week 4. I'm Marlon.
I'm Boyd.
And both of us are active, at least partially.
It feels like I just woke up from a long winter's nap. And it probably sounds like it too.
Yeah. But we're going to go through this. It's the first of the bye weeks, just two teams off, Carolina and Green Bay. Neither of which I've really figured out yet, so I'm not crying about their absence.
No, me either. Not a, I don't know. I would have bet on Green Bay last week and lost my shorts, so.
Yeah, so, you know, maybe if their running back situation clears up, I don't know. I really don't know about either of those teams. I don't think we would have bet games involving them this week.
No, and it wasn't. And the funny thing with Green Bay, it wasn't their defense that cost them the game. Too many turnovers. They had that game in hand. 3 turnovers. Ugh. And now the quarterback's screaming at the coach, so the Mike McCarthy job watch is probably on.
Oh, yeah. As soon as Aaron Rodgers glares at you.
Yeah, don't piss off the star quarterback.
That's right. Ask Favre and Holmgren how that went. All right, we're coming off our best week of the year. Let's try to keep some momentum going. This is a tough week, but this is the NFL, and they're all tough weeks.
Yes.
So let's get right to the games. The Thursday night game are the confusing San Francisco Niners going to St. Louis, and they are favored by 3 points.
Now, I have a question, but injury reports aren't out yet. Is Vernon Davis playing?
He's practicing.
Okay, he'll play.
They expect him back, was what I saw on NFL Network just before we started this podcast.
And I know Aldon Smith didn't look that great when he played this year, but what are they doing on defense now?
I don't know.
And what effect does him being off the team mean to the linebackers and everybody else in that running game?
Well, we saw that when Justin Smith went down, Aldon Smith didn't get another sack.
Yeah.
Which to me implies sort of a symbiotic relationship in their pressures. Will Aldon Smith's absence really hurt Justin Smith's effectiveness?
Well, their defense wasn't really that effective on Sunday against Indy, and the offense looked brutal from what I watched that game.
Colin Kaepernick got fewer fantasy points than Emily Manning.
Oh my God. On the road, short week, all the turmoil. And now Kaepernick's favoriting nasty tweets fans send him as motivation. You know we are in the electronic age when that's a story.
Yeah, really.
You're looking at angry tweets for motivation.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I guess people found out that there was a different game plan than intimidation for Kaepernick. Said, I hope you have a
Well-
better one. Other teams seem to have found a better game plan for the Niners.
Well, they're going to have to go back to the pistol.
But I saw a stat or heard a stat tonight that they've run it 16 times and it's gained positive yardage 25% of the time.
Okay, but last year they ran it all the time. You can't just run it periodically. You have to give them that look all the time because it fucks up what defense they're going to have on the field. When they know or see what you're doing, then they have a chance to maybe change their defense. If you run it every play, they're going to be gassed, and he's going to have lanes to run, and lanes will open to pass because they won't know what the fuck they're going to do. 16 times in 3 games, that's 5 times a game. How can you even call that a sample size?
Yeah, it is the current sample size, so I brought it up. But
No,
here's
I'm
the
not
thing.
talking you.
They've got no receiver right now. And Vernon Davis is a hamstring, which, trust me, I've seen a million of those through the Chargers over the years. That really affects it. So even if he's back on a hamstring, they've got no receiver who can get separation down the field.
No.
Not a one. Not a single one.
But that's why I think they have to go back to the pistol full time. Why would you change it? What made Kaepernick so explosive and exciting last year? That offense. Why, when a quarterback can run, do these coordinators want to turn him into Tom fucking Brady? That's not they haven't played that game, and you want them to learn the toughest position in sports to play at the level they're at and do it over the offseason in the NFL. If I don't know how to read defenses from under center in the shotgun, when I don't have that security blanket of sticking it in his gut and then determining what I want to do, that's got to be fucking hard. Look at Griffin III. He's struggling too.
Well, and also look at it from this perspective. These running quarterbacks are absolutely mind-blowing athletes. They've never had to buckle down with the books and learn the way Brady, who has talent, but he's not an athlete like Kaepernick is, or Griffin is, or Cam Newton is. These guys, not only do they have to learn a system, they have to learn how to learn the system.
Yes.
Because they've gotten by on just raw physical supremacy for so long that it's not that easy.
I put this story up last year on the website with RG3. He never had a playbook in college. And now you're trying to turn him into a pocket passer after last year you ran basically the same offense he had in college? And now's the time you throw it at him because he hurt his knee? Then he shouldn't be playing. If he can't do what he knows how to do, why is he playing? Just because you drafted him first overall? Or second overall? What the hell's he doing?
Yeah. All that said, this, I think, for us, at least from my perspective, is a stay-away game. It's Thursday night. It's going to be ugly. It's a reeling team versus a bad team. And I want nothing to do with it betting.
And pool players, take the home team. Both ways.
Yeah, I could see it.
Take them to win, take them to cover. You're getting 1 out of 2.
Yeah.
I think. And you might get 2 out of 2. The San Francisco's in turmoil. I don't care how good Harbaugh is. You nailed it with the receiving threats. They have none. And Gore's unhappy. Smith's in rehab. They're flying from San Francisco to St. Louis on a short week.
Gore had good first half yards. That's my only real worry. If they do not let the game get out of hand on them, and I'm not certain that the Rams are capable
don't forget
of putting up enough points.
Don't forget, they should have beat them in San Francisco last year, and they beat them in St. Louis.
This is true. That's why I'm with you. I'm just
defense.
My one caveat is if the Niners just pound the ball all game, They might win this in a squeaker, but I think I'm definitely going to take the points and take the Rams.
Yeah.
All right, moving to real football on Sundays.
Well, I don't know if this next one's real, but
Well,
it's football.
It's on a Sunday, so it's already better than a Thursday game. Arizona is +3 going to Tampa Bay.
I have no clue. Tampa's offense is horrible. I don't know what happened to their running game. It seems non-existent. Have you heard Doug Martin's name in a highlight package this year?
No, the only time I've heard it is when I've occasionally watched and he seems effective, but they don't seem to want to use him. Tampa Bay is a team that's utterly confused about who they are, and Arizona seems to have a huge injury list. If this were in Arizona, I would probably lay 6 for Zona, but I have no idea what's going to happen in Tampa Bay.
I would take the dog. I'd take the underdog. Tampa's not good. They don't put up points.
Well, and dogs are covering. I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take the points and take Arizona, but there's no way in hell we're betting this.
No. Well, it's the crap team theory.
Yeah. And
Don't waste
not
your
only
money on
that,
crap teams.
Tampa Bay is a crap team that I'm very confused about. They're not even just bad. They seem to be bad in strange and weird levels with moments of brilliance.
The only game they could have won was New Orleans. They were dominated in the other games. Well, I guess the Jets didn't dominate them, but if you can't beat the Jets, well, we'll see with Tennessee this week. I shouldn't say anything.
Yeah, that could come back to bite you, but
yeah.
All right.
Arizona both ways.
Yeah, dogs have been a solid pick thus far this NFL season, so I'm taking Zona. Plus, I still kind of like their defense. Peterson is great at corner.
Yes.
I think he's the best player on the field for either team this week. Next up, we have Baltimore laying 3 going into Buffalo. Kind of like Baltimore here.
Ooh, I was going to say I'm quasi-interested in this in Buffalo, +3. When you look at
unlikely to come to a consensus.
Well, hear me out. When you look at what Baltimore's offense has done the last 2 weeks.
27 against Denver, 9 versus Cleveland, 30 versus Houston.
Well, you got 14 versus Cleveland, but their special team scored a touchdown and their defense scored a touchdown, I believe. They might have had 2 defensive touchdowns. That's the other team. Baltimore, they had no touch, or did Pierce get a touchdown? Pierce might have got one. Okay, so they had 7 points. Their offense scored 16 points in that game. So they're averaging 15 points a game. Flacco didn't have a touchdown pass. He had 176 yards passing. Is this where they're going to light it up?
As bad as Flacco is, I think he's better than Geno Smith, and Buffalo couldn't handle that. Buffalo already looks like a team that's given up.
No. The Ravens have no receivers, though. Dallas Clark, Brandon Stokely, and Torrey Smith.
Well, there's Jacoby
Bernard
Jones
Pierce
when
is the running
Sweet
back.
Pea isn't banging him in the head.
Oh, that was a great story.
Oh, yeah, it's so good. And what I really like is McKinney's involved.
Well, of course he is.
It's like, what? There's no big lakes around here? Let's get
He didn't-
strippers on a bus.
Well, he wanted to fight somebody over on the team last year. If you saw the quotes of Ray Lewis on one of the ESPN football shows, they've got about 100. He was saying they need a leader to diffuse stuff and get stuff diffused before it comes to a head.
And as Pro Football Talk said, yeah, good thing no Ravens were ever involved in anything shady when you were on the team, Ray.
Yeah. I wonder where that suit is.
Blowing in the
Okay.
wind. It's just ash. But yeah, I don't think we're going to come to a consensus here, and this kind of fits into our two shitty teams rule.
Yeah. Or
So
1.5 shitty team. I'm not sure Baltimore's defense maybe has it together now, but I don't know what they do with the running quarterback. Schaub just kind of And here's the other thing: how good is Houston? Is Houston good?
well, we'll get to that. That's the next thing. I
But
mean,
we're looking at the
you,
Ravens.
you've
Like,
given me enough points to back me off Baltimore, but I'm certainly not willing to wager money on Buffalo.
no, that's
at this
fine.
stage.
But I'm just saying we're giving Baltimore's getting credit for beating Houston.
I'm not giving them a
should be-
huge amount of credit.
Houston should be 0-3.
I think if any game shows Baltimore credit, it might be Cleveland, who are somewhat better than we graded them at before the season.
But they still had Whedon at quarterback that game.
yeah, and
They won by 8,
and they did what they had to against Whedon.
and they still had Trent Richardson. So
Trent Richardson's not a game changer.
he's a bust. No, but that's what I'm saying. They've changed their team since Baltimore played them last. I don't know if they get credit for that.
No.
So
But I think I'm going to take Baltimore, lay the points, even though Buffalo's at home. Obviously, you are recommending a different strategy.
yeah, well, and here's the thing: if you're looking for an upset where you're getting points, and I like the plus 100 when you're getting points, and it's still plus 100, and you're at home.
Oh, home dogs are one of my favorite plays. But
So you're gonna it's a nice upset pick for the value that you're gonna get.
yeah, it's not a terrible pick. I think.
Pool wise, I'd split it, but betting I would take Buffalo and the points at home plus 100.
And I'll lay
Plus-
the 3 for Baltimore.
Alrighty.
Okay, the next game. Chicago is getting 2.5 going to Detroit. I like Chicago.
Yeah, me too.
I really like. Sorry, good friend Mitch.
I'm not sorry, Mitch.
Um,
Stafford will probably throw 2 picks, and they'll have a couple of if Reggie Bush plays in this game, could be the difference, but
I don't
not
think he's
certain.
playing.
No,
I
it
mean,
didn't sound
and
like it
Drake
today.
Bell's doing all right, but Detroit paid us money last week. I still like Detroit. Chicago has shown growing pains, so to speak, but I still kind of like Chicago in this game. And the fact that we're getting points, I really thought Chicago might be favored by 1.5.
Well, if we take Chicago here, we're betting the money line.
Yeah, for the $3 difference, yes, though both of these teams have been involved in 1-point victories far too often. I'm with
Yeah,
you.
but-
I was debating how I would go on exactly this question before we started the podcast. And for the $3 difference, yes, we'll take the money line.
If it was 3 points, if it was 3, I would take it. I would take the points. At 2.5, it seems the value's better on the money line.
The value's a little better because of the $3 difference. I mean, and this is different than what we did when we took Detroit plus 1.5 last week, and that 1 point didn't come into play, but it was very close to coming into play. Like we weren't having flop sweat because Detroit was in field goal range, and we just thought, okay, even if they kick this and they give up that late touchdown, we're still covered.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think Brandon Marshall tears it up against that weak Detroit secondary. Nate Burleson breaking his arm in a Detroit tradition of a bizarre traffic accident.
Did you see what it was?
Well, what I heard was they watched Monday Night Football, no alcohol involved. I haven't seen any reports of alcohol.
No.
He picked up a pizza on
No
the way
alcohol.
home. It slid off the seat. He reached over to grab the pizza off the seat of his car and ran into a traffic median. That's the reports I've heard.
That's exactly what it was. There'll be video of him walking around at the scene holding on to his arm on our website post tomorrow.
Like, I feel bad, and also, I mean, you might know more about this. Nate Burleson has a big mouth, but as far as I know, he has not been involved in any bullshit in his career.
No, this was just a stupid thing
fluke.
that happened.
Yeah. Like, I wasn't certain of his history. I meant to look it up. I kind of believe no alcohol. I mean, the Detroit Lions are the team who had their all-pro tackle one year run down in his yard while mowing the lawn. Like, what does Detroit have to do to get a break in this fucking world?
Hire a better coach.
Well, he's not going to protect the guy who's mowing his lawn.
No, but the problems they have now is more coaching. And
yeah, that's part of it.
How can you not draft a wide receiver to go with Calvin? How can you not find one?
Well, you had to shore up that secondary more if you could. Burleson would have been fine for another year, perhaps two. At least take the heat off. I mean, he had over 100 yards against Washington, just enough to take the heat off. His loss is bigger, I think, than people realize.
Yeah, but why didn't what did Tampa give up for Revis? Why wouldn't Detroit go after Revis in the offseason when they knew he was available?
That would have made some sense. Or even go after Mike fucking Wallace.
Yeah, but forget Reggie Bush.
If you want to go all O, go O. Yeah.
Or if you want to shore up, because the hardest position to play in the NFL on defense is corner. So when you go with young corners with no experience, you're going to get burnt. Unless you got a phenomenal pass rush, and that'll cover up a lot of your backfield issues on defense. But Detroit's defense looked okay against...
Oh, and Detroit's defense, I think, is okay, and they get their pressures usually with just bringing a base package, which is always nice in this era. But
I think Chicago's defense is Stafford he still throws the ball high.
He does. He's never
You
fixed
brought that up. It's high. It's always high. And Chicago's defense, I don't know how they do it, but this isn't like a 1 year blip. This is trending now that their defense causes turnovers every fucking year.
Yeah, and the Lovey change doesn't seem to have affected that. Let's put this one in the books, man.
Okay.
What do you think? I going through the sheets, I haven't seen much better than this.
Our $10 bet pays $22.50. We have Chicago on the money line at Detroit. This will be, if Detroit wins this game, it'll tell me a lot about Detroit. If they win this game, they're probably going to the playoffs.
Yeah, and we both kind of like Detroit too here, so this isn't a huge condemnation of the Lions or anything. I just think Chicago's the better team.
Yeah. Right now. Could change.
Yeah. Easily could change.
If Bush was
and I don't know what Detroit can do against Brandon Marshall. I mean, their defense played reasonably well against Washington, but Washington has no receivers either.
And I wish Bush was playing in this game, or was for not questionable.
Oh, if suddenly Bush comes back, I'm a lot less comfortable about this bet. But what can we do? We're betting the early lines, you know.
Yeah.
All right, next up. Cincinnati is -4 going to Cleveland. Is the money line open on this?
Yes.
Okay. And, well, you've got to tell me. I did my sheets in the afternoon.
It's
and
plus
the money line
180
was
for
close.
Cleveland.
Okay.
Are you thinking?
Ooh, that's tempting.
Thinking what I'm thinking.
I don't want to book this one right now, but I almost
That's
feel
great
like taking the
value.
4 at $1 at. Oh man. Okay, let's actually talk about the game here. We both like Cincy in a lot of ways. They
But their offense,
stole a game last week.
their
Stole a
offense
game.
isn't very
Absolutely
good.
stole it.
Well, let's put it this way: they put up 20 points on the Steelers at home in what was a closer game than it should have been.
That one
Against-
was just a tight sphincter game, though, because they hadn't beaten. I think they were playing super tight. Marv Lewis is not a good coach. That I think we both agree on.
And I don't know what. I didn't see any of the Cleveland game when they beat Minnesota. They did have a fake field goal touchdown, which is like kind of like the kitchen sink game. Throw everything at them and.
Well, and we talked about it in our podcast last night. I think a lot of what Cleveland did in that game was the pride game. You know, as soon as Trent Richardson was traded, the rest of the team was treated like toilet paper. Oh, they've given up. There's no chance because Lord knows you can't win a game without a 3.3 yard per carry running back.
Well, think about this. If Cleveland wins this game, they're in the mix to win the division.
Yeah, oh yeah. Because this
They're
is
2-2.
it's a big division game, and yeah, we bet them at under what 6.5 or 5.5?
5.5.
5.5. Hey,
I don't even
futures
care if
bets
we
are
lose that
futures
bet.
bets. Yeah, it's sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong.
If Whedon doesn't get hurt, they don't beat Minnesota.
It's Cleveland's defense, and this kind of gets back to our argument about Baltimore Buffalo. If your argument that Baltimore's offense is terrible, then we've got to devalue the Cleveland defense a bit.
Right. But is Cincinnati's offense much better? Really, they've got A.J. Green.
Yeah, they haven't been using Eifert and Gresham effectively. They actually have Gio Bernard,
Yeah, sparingly.
which that will change. I mean, that has to bloody change. He's 2 yards of carry over, Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis. Just keep the law firm there as a game closer with a lead. That should be his only role in this offense.
Yeah, but you know how it works. He's getting paid more money, too. So they have to justify his contract.
Hey, if I had a back who could grind me out 3 first downs on the ground where everybody knows it's coming and not fumble the ball, though he did last week.
Yeah.
But, you know, if I had that, I think he's worth the money you're paying him for right now. That's something that just doesn't exist in this league. We've talked about
But
that
how many-
before, too. No one can close.
No, but how many points was the offense truly responsible for in that game from Cincinnati against the Green Bay defense that you said last week was garbage?
Well, yeah, that's... No, you're right. You're right.
Like, sometimes you won't, like when there's games where there's value like this, you have to bet them based just purely on the value when it's this close.
I like
4
that
points is
4
not-
fucking points, though. I like that 4 points. I mean, this is definitely in the mix. And maybe we'll look at this. We'll definitely be looking at this game later in the pod. But
I still
let
think
that stew around in my head a bit. I don't want to jump on the money line.
Well, I'm not
on
saying we
this
bet it
right
right now, but if we're gonna bet it, we got to grow some stones and fucking bet it.
Why? Because we didn't make enough money last week?
No, but
Um,
there's very few games that you have a chance on a team that's on the uptick after an emotional win and all the shit that you mentioned from last week. Going home for an in-state rival, like outside of Pittsburgh, Cincinnati's their next biggest rival,
well, it's the Battle of Ohio.
and they'll be ready to go on Sunday. That's going to be a good game.
We'll see. I mean, that we are absolutely putting a wager down on this game. We just haven't decided how yet. And we are
Yeah.
both on the same side.
Yes.
Okay. The next game, Indy is laying 8.5 going to Jacksonville. I kind of say we jump on this too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Jacksonville can't score. They're awful. They're absolutely historically awful.
More than the player Trent Richardson will be for Indy, the fact that the owner pulled the trigger on that trade seems to have fucking fired up the Colts. I really think it's almost more an emotional benefit at this stage, and that'll fade after a few games. I actually still think Bradshaw, as long as they're not trying to show off their shiny new toy, Bradshaw's the better back in Indy. They didn't even really need Trent Richardson, but it sent a message to the team that they intend to win this year. And they went into the Bay and just absolutely beat the shit out of the Niners.
The only thing that scares me on this, go back and look the last couple of years. Jacksonville has been in every game pretty much against Indy. I think one of them went to overtime.
I see your point, but do we even know who's playing for Jacksonville at quarterback?
Gabbard's been cleared.
Ooh, goody. Now I'm definitely saying lay the fucking points. Henny's no fucking superstar, but he's better than Gabbard.
Yeah. Well, let's keep it in the mix.
I understand your slight discomfort here.
Just 8.5's a lot. I know it's Jacksonville, but we know in this league,
Jacksonville hasn't covered a game yet, nor have they come close. They've been blown out by everyone from the Raiders, Chiefs, who are a pretty good team. Like, they haven't even come close to covering a spread.
Okay, we'll keep it in the mix, but I think the next game's a better play.
I don't mind the next game either. Shockingly, in what I thought was a thin week. Though it gets a lot thinner after this meaty chunk in the middle.
Yes.
Giants are plus 4.5 going to Arrowhead. Which,
as
like you reminded me, is one of the toughest stadiums to play in the league.
And that Giants team is just, I don't know what the hell's going on there.
They're not as bad as they have been, but they're still bad.
But 38-0 to a defense that lost 3 starters the week before?
And is a mediocre team at best.
But are they that mediocre? Lost 12-7 to Seattle? Are we just not giving them credit now?
Maybe. I do think I undervalued them a bit, but they still have Ron Rivera. But
no, I know.
That's a different game.
But they lost 2. They've lost the 2 losses they have as a combined total of 6 points.
Kansas City's offense was dreadful in Philly.
Thursday night, though.
I know. But you remember we talked about that I said Alex Smith looked like Gus Farrat.
But so did Michael Vick.
Tuck and run. Oh, I know.
So did Michael Vick. Thursday,
I know, but he's not involved in this game.
I know, but we got to throw out the Thursday night shit. I'm saying I'm using Michael Vick because he looked the same as Alex Smith. He looked shitty the week after putting up 400 yards. And he put up 180 the next week on 4 days. So I think we have to take that into consideration when we're looking at these games. Kansas City's defense.
Well, that actually
is
something we sort of agreed on last year. Was we ignore Thursday night performance?
Yes,
you're right. Way to call back on that.
Vick and Smith were brutal, both equally as brutal in that game. Like, Philly's defense isn't that good, and they were holding Kansas City to field goals on all those turnovers. So,
well, it's all defense in Kansas City. And I'm talking about all 3 games, not just the Thursday night.
Yeah, but who has an answer for Jamal Charles? I don't think it's the Giants.
Yeah, I'd be more comfortable if Well, I was just going to say, I'd be a lot more comfortable if Smith could occasionally throw the ball to Bo.
But do the Giants have anything left to draw on?
Just statistically, their turnover ratio is going to get better. It's
but you said that
impossible
last
to
week.
sustain this. Yeah, I did.
You said that last week, and it didn't. And did you hear what Hakeem Nicks said this week? I can't throw the ball to myself. So what do you think's going on?
I was
in that
looking
fucking
for that
locker room
fucking
right
audio bite, by the way, to open the show, but I couldn't find
there?
it.
Well, it probably wasn't audio. It was probably just fucking talking to a beat reporter.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking for that. I couldn't find it.
But that's the same. I was looking for that one clip where the Titans' Jarrell Casey said we put the terrible towels up their butts in Pittsburgh, and I couldn't find that either.
No, I like this play a lot too.
The Giants are bad,
but Kansas City has not won going away a whole bunch.
Yeah, but they're at home.
And when it's a defense team laying 4.5, it's in, as Simmons calls it, the Vegas zone. I hate that 4.5.
I know it's in the Vegas zone, but when you're a turnover machine for 3 weeks, why do I bet anything but against that? We're thinking back to their history, and we've discussed this on podcasts. Keep telling that doesn't mean anything when we're talking about Detroit and all this. We keep looking because Coughlin's teams, when he's coached them, they'll have a bad start, and then whatever happens, they flip the switch, they dig deep, our backs are against. They said all that shit last week. Well, we play our best when our backs are against the wall. We're not concerned yet. All the crap that you need, that everybody spouts when you're going bad. And then they came out and laid a turd.
Oh, no.
A big, giant fucking turd. They're not coming back from this year. Not on the road.
I'm not against this play. I'm not fond of the 4.5. I'm in where you are on the previous game. So let's put this baby in the mix.
But answer me this. What out of their offense is giving you pause from the Giants? That do you think they're going to turn it around? The Dallas game? They had 7 turnovers. There's nothing
and
here.
And they were in the game. I mean, this was your argument when I wanted to play Dallas in week 2. Against Casey, which we won on.
Right. I wanted to see what Dallas's defense had. Whether they just let off the gas or if their defense was good. And their defense played pretty well the last 2 weeks. So that answered my question. But New York hasn't answered the question of can they not turn the ball over? They couldn't stop Carolina. With one wide receiver.
This brings up your question. Maybe we're undervaluing Carolina a whole bunch.
Yeah, but I think you're overvaluing the Giants a whole bunch.
I don't think I'm overvaluing them. I'm just thinking Kansas City's going to win a lot of 3-point games. At least until that offense shows me anything. What has that offense scored? I mean, we're talking 4.5 points.
I know Kansas City's defense could score 14.
I hate relying on defensive scores.
I know. Or set up 14. The Giants are going to turn the ball over 2 or 3 times in this game. Kansas City has a really good defense. That stadium will be loud as fuck. The pass rush will get to Manning. They have no running game to speak of. So where are their points coming from?
Yeah.
They had one good game.
Boy, this could easily be in the play. We're just winnowing them down right now. I honestly would rather take Indy at 8.5 than KC at 4.5, but we will talk.
In the pool, I'm taking KC both ways.
I am too. But 4.5 is a big number for a team that hasn't shown me any offense at all.
I had
Nick-
28 against Jacksonville.
That doesn't count.
Well,
28 against Jacksonville is like 13 against a football team.
yeah, but they put up over 20 against Philly on 4 days. With Smith looking like Gus Frerotte. I just don't think the Giants can score. That's
Fair enough. Next game up, Pittsburgh is favored by 1.5 over Minnesota in merry old England.
And I know
You're welcome, England.
Well, and I know you said fade the Steelers. I can't fade them with Minnesota.
No, well, it's not that for me. I would fade them with Minnesota in a second
Minnesota?
if it's not fucking London, England. Stay away from this game. Let the fucking British punters, as they call them, bet this game. No North American should bet this game. It's a travesty.
I agree. But if you're playing the pools, I'm taking Minnesota both ways till Pittsburgh can prove they can do anything.
Exactly, and I actually like Minnesota in this. Minnesota scored a lot of points this year, much to my shock. They 27, 30, and 24.
But they can't stop anybody.
No, they can't stop anybody, but anybody should be able to stop Pittsburgh. So
You would hope.
I really like Minnesota as a pool play, but as I said, have at it, Brit boys. I'm just staying away from this shit. And that does hurt our very winning philosophy of fade the Steelers.
Yes, if it was
The
like
best thing that
anywhere
could
but
happen
England,
to us, honestly, is if Pittsburgh wins this game.
yes.
Because then their lines would continue to be absurd, and we could keep fading them for the rest of the year.
Well, give us another couple of weeks anyway.
Yeah. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Best thing for us as gamblers would be if Pittsburgh wins this game.
Well, the best thing for us with Pittsburgh gambling is that people just bet Pittsburgh out of loyalty, just like the Cowboys and other teams like that.
Yeah.
They get overvalued in the public's mind just because they're Pittsburgh.
Well, and
that should
they've
help
been
us.
good for so long that it hasn't worked for us money-wise. But this year, they're really, really bad. So as long as they keep getting, 3 points more than they should in any situation, I think it's a profitable play.
Yeah.
Next game up, Seattle. Favored by 3 going to Houston.
I like this one too.
So do I.
I love Seattle here. Houston's not a good team.
Well, okay, and this is where we've got to answer the question for sure. Is Carolina good?
Why we're talking about Seattle.
Because Seattle's only road game, they struggled to put up points against Carolina. Their home games, they're going to crush people. The one road game Seattle has played thus far, they put up barely any points against Carolina. So what's our opinion on Carolina?
Well, Carolina's undervalued. Houston's overvalued. They've given up. How many points did they give up to the Chargers? 28?
28.
28 to the Chargers. 24 to the Titans at home, which the game they should have lost both of those games. And they put up 9 points in Baltimore. Now, whose defense is better?
Oh.
You know what wins on the road? Seattle's defense.
No, I love this game too, but I'm just trying to pin us down on Carolina because I think we've been undervaluing them too.
Well, we'll pin them on when we get to them.
Well, they're on a bye week this week.
Well, okay, then.
But
Carolina,
for our analysis of the Giants and, in this case, Seattle, we have to have an opinion on Carolina.
Well, Carolina's got a decent. I said that last week. Their 2 losses were by 6 points. They're not a horrible football team. They're not great. They're not horrible. I would say if they had another receiver, I would value them more. Their passing game is what's holding them back, to me.
Well, and their coaching.
Well, that too. They should have run out the clock in Buffalo, and they'd be 2-1.
Oh, and they should have gambled. There've been like 3 fourth down gambles that.
Marlon, they're a fumble at the 8 away from beating Seattle.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Houston is bad. Houston scored a touchdown with a minute left, won the coin toss in overtime, and scored a touchdown against the Titans.
NFL officially apologized for
in the Charger game.
And as we know, the NFL doesn't apologize for anything.
Schaub
They could
has
fuck
looked-
your sister in front of you and they'd say, we're the NFL. Fuck you.
They have looked. Schaub has looked bad. Schwab, or Schaub, as you like to call him, Schwab.
Yes.
He's looked bad all year.
Johnson hasn't
some-
looked good. Like,
Coming off a concussion.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Their second wideout. He looks all right. He's going to be something. But Arian Foster and Ben Tate are warring. And neither of them has looked particularly good.
The defense hasn't put up the numbers like it did last year, sack-wise and all that.
Oh, no, not at all.
They're not getting the same pressure.
They've only got like 1 turnover this year, I swear. No, I like this a lot.
And the plus 110 is enough for me to overlook Seattle's struggles on the road in the past.
Well, yeah, we can actually lay the points and get $2. I mean...
Yeah, or take the points, you mean? Or
No, lay the
yeah.
points for Seattle, yeah.
Brain fart.
And still get, we're basically paying our vigor-ish, and we can still take the points.
Yeah.
I don't mind that at all.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have the Jets getting 4, going to Tennessee. It's off the table for our betting.
Pool-wise,
You gotta handle the Jets.
I know, but
Their defense is a whole fuck of a lot better than San Diego's.
who, the Jets?
Yeah.
Yeah. But our defense is better than Buffalo's.
Yes. Agreed
So-
on both points.
Now, pool-wise, take Tennessee to win. My theory on giving the Jets the cover is Munchak coaches the same way as Fisher. Play the game tight and win it late. That's win by 3. That's the same. They never try and blow you out. They only throw consistently when they're behind.
Oh, and there was a
And-
drop pick, too. I mean, it's not like you guys stomped the Chargers. I mean, you deserve
I didn't.
the win.
That's what I'm
but-
saying.
Yeah, you
That's
deserve
exactly
the win.
what I'm
but
saying.
For a
This is
game that I
exactly what
think
I'm saying.
overall you dominated.
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you.
We play everything close to the vest and want to win every game by 3. And if you have a kicker miss a field goal, it'll generally fuck the spread,
Fair enough.
which is what happened on Sunday.
Oh, and by the way, I went through Munchak's entire press conference looking for a quote. I was going to start that for you in honor of your once every 20 years victory over my team. But Munchak, it's like talking to an Easter Island statue. Jesus Christ, is that man boring.
Yeah, well, then Belichick was basically Munchak.
He's at least angry and boring.
Well, dismissive and boring.
Yeah, dismissive, perfect word. But you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
it was a dumb question, and Belichick didn't have to say anything, but he doesn't have to be such a dick about it. Munchak was just, oh, man, that was a bad 20 minutes that I watched tonight.
He coached under Jeff Fisher, and he coaches exactly like Fisher. Same mentality. Jake Locker's a quarterback, my friends, if they'd give him the fucking reins.
Maybe,
I'm
but I
sorry.
think he might have picked it up against two. Houston's an overrated defense. San Diego isn't a good defense. That's the biggest game you're going to see out of Nate Washington all year. I
I don't,
pretty much
Marlon. I don't
guarantee
care.
that.
7 of 8 in any NFL when you're starting from your own one to give you the lead in the fourth quarter.
Oh yeah.
You can play.
Oh,
He's not making bad decisions. Every quarterback has a couple that are close to picks every game. I don't care which quarterback it is. He can play. He's answered the questions to me. I'm not ready to put him. He's not an all-pro, but if you're looking for a quarterback that can scramble and get out of trouble and can throw, he's got an arm. Like, how many bad throws did he make in that game? There weren't many. There was a bunch of drops.
There were a few. There were drops. He put a few in the dirt. He put a few high, but yeah, no. I mean, he's not terrible.
Like, if you're looking to rebuild your team with a quarterback, and he gets nothing press-wise when he is basically doing what Andrew Luck, or not Andrew Luck, but RG3, Kaepernick, and fucking Griffin. What did he have, a 60-yard run, 50-yard run?
He ended up with 68 total yards.
So he had a 40-yard run on the one, a 10-yard touchdown run, scrambled for a couple of first downs. Like, he's doing what they did. Basically, same numbers from what those guys did last year. And do you hear one lick of anything in Tennessee of Jake Locker? No. Because it's fucking Tennessee. So.
No, I'm not arguing that.
And here's the other thing. He's not black. It's good to be a black quarterback in the NFL that can run because you'll get heat. If you're a white quarterback with the speed of a black quarterback, well, that doesn't mean anything. He's the exact same player. He's the exact same player. If that was RG3 in Tennessee, they'd have ESPN down there 7 days a week.
Part of that's the late draft pick, too. But no, I hear what you're saying.
Late draft pick? He was 8th overall.
Really?
Yes.
He wasn't a late draft pick to me, but
8th overall. Well, they haven't given him a chance.
Well, and why don't you find out now? Why don't you give him a chance?
That's Marlon. Fuck.
This is our podcast last night.
Did you not listen to me on Sunday? And
this was our podcast last night. Was turn him loose.
He's proven it.
Yeah.
Fuck, quit running the ball into the middle of the fucking line, first and second down with Jackie fucking Battle. Jesus. Done with my rant.
Okay. Dallas. Next game, also off our board by our own rules. Dallas -2 going to San Diego.
It's 2.5 now.
Okay, Dallas all the way.
Yes.
San Diego's pass defense can't defend anybody. The Chargers are much more entertaining, a lot better than I thought they'd be this year. And I don't mind them losing because we need some sort of game-changing player on defense. But definitely take Dallas this way.
I think this might be your first blowout loss.
I think so. I don't think we can run with these guys. No, I really don't.
17 points isn't going to keep you in the game this week. Rivers is going to have to throw it 40 times, and that could get dicey in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, because he'll do a Phillip Rivers pick. I do think he can exploit that secondary. I think he's going to put up a lot of yards, but I just don't think the Chargers will be able to even slow the Cowboys down.
Can you tell me, is Dallas undervalued right now?
Little bit.
2.5?
San Diego, and I assume this is Hollywood producer money. This has been going on for years, Boyd, and I've bitched about it every year. The Chargers are a ridiculous play, and I think it's because the California money comes flowing in to Vegas. There's no other explanation.
Well, when you look at that game from last week, can you name me a wide receiver that made an impact in that game? The catches that were being made were by your backup tight end and Antonio Gates.
Yep.
Were the only guys we had trouble with. And I don't know how they couldn't cover Nate Washington. How are they covering Des Bryant and Miles Austin and Witten?
Oh, no, we can't. That's what I'm saying. I think the Chargers are capable of scoring against Dallas' defense, but not enough. And I don't think our defense could even slow them down. We have no pass rush to speak of.
Well, you might be able to get... You got some heat on us, but Locker was able to scramble.
Well,
you might be able to get to Romo
we have to
bit,
commit completely to heat. And just to go back to the Chargers-Tennessee game, why we safety blitzed on the 8, I have no idea. But that's what the Chargers are forced to do to generate any heat on the passer. Dallas is going to pick us apart. I do think you're right. This is going to be a blowout thing. The Chargers, I could see them scoring 20. I could see them
spunky.
Easily giving up 40. And I like the way they're playing. They're an entertaining team this year, which, frankly, is way more than I expected.
No, they got some spunk.
And
even like Rivers fire.
Yeah. Rivers dink and dunk is working for the most part. I don't mind our O entirely. Ryan Matthews is a total bust, but that's neither here nor there. And our defense, we've got Weddle. That's it. And he can't do everything. Weddle's a great player, underrated player. If he were on a good team and a good defense, gotta be an all-pro safety.
Yeah.
All right, next game. Speaking of the aforementioned, Eagles plus 10.5 going to Denver.
That was good. I know what you meant.
Yeah.
Is Denver's defense good?
No, but they're good enough to cover 10.5 at home against this Eagles squad.
Yeah, against that defense. They picked Oakland apart. Philly's defense isn't great.
Chargers picked them apart. We just discussed. The Chargers' offense isn't terrible.
What I'm interested to see is how Denver handles LaShawn McCoy. I want to see what they do with the running game. Because he's put up numbers in every game.
Oh, he's going to throw up another 182 and TD maybe 2. But Peyton Manning and this Denver offense, particularly at home right now, they're going to bust the 50 burger on Philly.
Well, here's what I wanted to bring up before the podcast. Then I said, well, I'm going to save it. And I was thinking about this and about Peyton Manning and how he started the season. I honestly think he's more concerned with his legacy right now than winning a title. I think he wants to get back all the records Brady got from him with the 12 touchdowns in the first 3 games. Take it from Brady, who had 11. They're looking at the points record. But when it comes playoff time, he's going to be Peyton Manning once again. Who they always say, he prepares more than anybody. Outdoors in Denver, when all you have is a passing game, you're fucked. It's the same thing that happened in Indy. Passing games in the playoffs usually get shut the fuck down somewhere, or he makes a bonehead fucking pass that turns a game like Baltimore last year. 2 picks cost him that fucking game.
Or a team with a running game just comes in and keeps them on the sidelines.
Well, they were talking about it last night during the game. They couldn't close out the game against Baltimore. They couldn't run the ball. So, yeah. And the defenses get better the deeper you get in the playoffs. I don't care. Even though we don't think anybody has a great defense right now. They get better. When the intensity ratchets up, it
And the
gets better.
flags stay in the pockets more.
Yep.
Let's face it, in the playoffs, the incidence of flags is 40% of what it is in the regular season.
And what happens if he loses one of these receivers to injury at some point in the year?
Well, he's got 4 right now, so he's in a good position that way. He's got Welker, Decker, Demarius Thomas, an acceptable tight end.
Just needs to play a team with a pass rush. That's what I want to see.
But in this case, I'm laying the points for Denver.
Yeah, until they
Without
don't
hesitation.
cover.
I don't think Philadelphia is significantly better than Oakland.
Philly could put up some points in this game. The only thing that scares me.
We'll see. I'm curious to see what Denver's defense can do here. But, let's see the fast break when you've been training at sea level all year.
Here's
and you
the
go
thing,
to
though.
Denver.
Here's the thing. Can Denver's defense run it at that pace in that air? Like
they've been training all year at that air.
I know.
This is the Mike Shanahan, Greg Easterbrook concept that Denver tends to win in the first half of the year at home.
But can they
primarily because of conditioning?
Can they do it at a higher pace of play? Is my question. I know they've trained on it. They should have the advantage.
I think they've got the advantage, and Philly is not good.
They should have the advantage. I want to see, and I'm laying the points too, just because they've covered everything, no matter how high it's been, forever.
And like the old Indy teams, they're lazy in the fourth quarter, but they're getting up far enough now that they're not giving those backdoor covers that Indy used to.
Well, they tried like hell.
Oh, they really work at it, but they haven't yet. And
no, I'm laying the points till they don't cover.
Yeah, especially at home. 10.5 at home. This seems. I'm not going to bet it because laying 10.5 in week 4 is crazy talk. But
if Seattle's line was 19,
I'm pretty confident.
If Seattle against Jacksonville was 19, how isn't this at least 14?
That's my thinking too. It must just be Chip Kelly craziness. And admittedly, I think there are serious problems on Denver's defense that have been obscured by their ridiculous offense. But
then they'll just pass that off as, they just let up a little bit. Or some other excuse.
In any case, I'm laying these points
this
week. The next game, Washington-Oakland, is closed. I assume this is primarily because of Pryor's injury.
Yes.
Wow, I don't know. Even at a dead heat, I don't know in this one.
I'd still take Washington right now. In a coin flip game, I still think RG3's better. They have more weapons. They have a running game. I think
they have a running game. That's the only weapon they have. I mean, no wideouts there at all.
Well, Griffin's thrown for over 300 yards each game, I think.
Mostly in garbage time, though. Mostly when they're down 30 points.
But playing against Oakland, it's all garbage time.
That's right. I mean, this is a coin flip. I'm almost leaning towards Oakland.
I would take Washington both ways if you have a line in your pool.
All right. The Sunday Nighter. New England +1 at Atlanta.
Can you tell me why Atlanta's favored in this game, even though I was high on Atlanta at the start of the year? You can't bank on turnovers. That offense put up nothing in that game.
I don't like Atlanta, though, but I don't like New England.
I don't want to bet it. I'm just curious as to how Atlanta's favored in this.
Well, New England hasn't left like a one area code zone all year. Maybe they're just figuring going south will confuse them. I don't know.
This is a coin flip.
I like New England. I don't
do
like
too.
them enough to bet them,
No,
but I like them.
they're
New
That,
England always finds enough to win.
and the defense isn't horrible. It seemed like the wide receivers are whatever's happening with them. Brady seems to get them. He's like Manning that way. Whatever he does with them in practice or after practice or before practice or whatever the fuck they do to get chemistry,
Yep.
he seems to be able to develop it.
And he knows how to work it on the field with, a combination of angry talk and I'll still go to you. I mean, an example of that is the way Manning used Decker, who'd had a bunch of drops, and then all of a sudden it was going to be Eric Decker's game against the Raiders. And all of a sudden they're all a big loving family again. They're
Well,
both
except for Demaryius Thomas.
Well, Demaryius Thomas, he's had other good games,
I know, but he came up to Manning. I pointed that out to you.
It's part of the master manipulation, though, of guys like Brady and Manning. They can keep these divas under control. And in New England, they're not divas. They're just raw clay. They're not good, but Atlanta has shown me fuck nothing so far this year.
No, I was so high on him at the start of the year, and all those injuries now, I think they're done.
They haven't looked good. There's not a thing about them that looks good to me.
Well, it doesn't help that Roddy White's hurt and Steven Jackson gets hurt.
I don't think
And
the
three
Steven
guys
Jackson matters a whole bunch. The Roddy White is monstrous.
And 3 guys on defense gone for the year.
Yeah,
It's
no,
big.
I'm not saying you were wrong or anything. I'm not.
No, I'm just disappointed. I wanted to see how that played out. That was like, and that's the NFL though. You can only bet beforehand on what you see going in. You can't predict injuries.
No, and I'm just not impressed with them. So I'm taking New England and their single point, but I don't want us anywhere near this game.
No. No.
And then the Monday Nighter. Miami, a team I'm very fond of and have been since the preseason, is getting 6 going to New Orleans, but I still will not touch this fucking game.
No, I don't want any part of this either.
I cannot figure out New Orleans. Miami I'm fond of. I like them. I sort of know what I'm getting. But New Orleans is an utter fucking enigma to me.
We do know Arizona isn't that good. They put up a lot of points against Arizona last week. Atlanta played New Orleans tough in New Orleans. Miami just beat them at home. It's going to be a close game, I believe.
Well, I'm going to take the points, but
I would split it. Take New Orleans to win at home, probably late field goal or touchdown, and Miami to cover.
New Orleans has been my enigma team for years. I mean, we lost huge when Seattle crushed them at home. I don't think I've ever recovered. I can't ever catch the pulse of this team. I don't know what they're going to do week in, week out.
And if Miami doesn't turn the ball over this week, like that game against Atlanta shouldn't have been that close. If they don't turn the ball over like they did. So this is going to be a good game. This is the first good Monday night game of the year. Really. I know the Charger game was good against Houston, but I mean on paper.
A lot of people were in bed,
team,
you know.
2-3-0 teams on Monday night.
Yeah.
That's a good game. And I'm still...
And even if Miami... New Orleans at home there's a home field advantage there. Even if Miami loses this game, I'm not going to write them out. They're still one of my favorite teams this year.
I still don't think New Orleans is great.
Neither do I, but in the absence of any proof otherwise, they're kind of like New England. They're winning ugly. They're doing just enough to win against most teams.
Yeah, and they blew out a shit team, which they should have, and struggled against
Yeah.
a shit team on the road. So I don't know what they are. At
Yeah.
home, if this was in Miami, it would probably be 2. It'd probably be New Orleans
Yep.
-2.
Yep.
So,
So I'm going to take Miami in the points, and I kind of like Miami, so I'm going to continue to cheer for
and
them.
how come Miami's playing 3 out of their first 4 games on the road?
I don't know. That's some kind of a piss off because they didn't get their taxpayer subsidized stadium or something.
If-
God only fucking knows.
If Miami can somehow win this game, they're in the playoffs. You win 3 on the road, your first 3 on the road, you're making the playoffs. You're getting to 10 wins.
Don't forget, Miami came out of the gates super strong last year too.
No, they sucked
And
last year
Tennessee
out of the
beat
gate.
out of the gates. They were strong until Tennessee crushed their ass.
Well, they were winning.
And
one,
then they
lose one
went
last
on a
year.
6-game losing streak. So Miami's capable of a lot of things.
Yeah, but but I think if they win, if you can go 3-0 on the road in your first 3 games, you're making the playoffs. There's not many stats against it.
Yeah, certainly putting you in there. Okay, we got to figure out what we're betting here, man.
Okay.
What we have right now that we are considering is Cleveland on the money line. And I'm going to take the Indy off the board. God, it's so terrible to ignore that Jacksonville. But I made my own argument about Denver laying 10.5. And
Yeah.
I realized when we were talking about that I was just making the same fucking argument with a vastly inferior team. So,
Okay, well, one bet I think we should make for sure is Seattle -3.
yeah, I'd prefer that to a single.
Yes, we leave that as a single
Yeah, okay.
because it's +110, which is great value for a team that's just been blowing people out.
Yeah.
I think Carolina's undervalued for that performance against them. I do.
Yeah, well, sorry, that I thought was the big question about how we valued a couple of the games this week.
So Seattle.
Now, can we combine...
Okay, so we're doing Seattle as standalone.
Yes.
Okay, so that's $10 -3. Price is +110. $10 bet pays 21. Bet has been placed.
No, it should pay 20.
21.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
+110. So yeah, +100 doubles us the 10. Gives us
Okay,
the
my
extra
sheet
10
says
gives
plus
us-
100, so...
Yeah, it's +110 now.
Okay.
Okay, so
Our 2 remaining games are Kansas City and Cleveland. Now, can we combine a money line and a
well,
spread for a parlay?
we can, but if we're gonna, oh man, you know, as much as I was thinking Cleveland, if we're gonna do a parlay, I would much more prefer Indy -8.5 and Kansas City -4.5 than Cleveland +4.
Okay. I
'Cause
mean,
Minnesota's
Indy was
not
in my
good.
mix. I mean, 8.5 is a big lay, but
We don't know what Cleveland is yet.
so
that
we
could
can't
be
take
that one
we,
game bump.
we can't take a money line and a point spread in the single parlay.
Yes, you can. I just don't know if I want to.
Okay.
Cleveland. I was thinking.
Oh,
like,
you
the
just
price-
like the value on the
I
single
like
game.
the value.
Yeah.
And I'll kick myself if Cleveland wins.
Ah,
But I don't. When we're parlaying it, I would rather take when you need 2 wins. I would rather take 2 games that you got crappier team. Like we got a crap team playing a mediocre team in that Cleveland game. I think Indy is. We got Jacksonville, which is the crap of the crap, playing against a team that's going to contend for a playoff spot.
all
And we
right.
got Kansas City playing against the crap of the crap in the NFC right now, at home, 3-0, with a
Okay.
good defense. I'd prefer that over hoping hoping Cleveland can fucking pull off an upset.
Okay. No, I don't
So
mind
if
that.
that-
We're only paying the standard 9 points vig on each of those, so that'll be a decent parlay.
Yeah. It'll be the same as last week, I believe. $10 parlay pays $36.45. So we have
Right.
Indy minus 8.5 at Jacksonville and Kansas City minus 4.5 hosting the Giants. $10, $36.45. Place the bet. And I'm hoping we bet 100 again or 1,000 again this week. Would be nice.
Yeah. Can't count on it, but
No, I'm
hey,
not
whenever we
counting on it.
lay these bets, we expect to win them.
Really?
You know? It's shocking. That's our mindset.
I didn't know that was the case.
Katie, you want to summarize this?
Okay, yeah, we're gonna win some more bets. There's the summary. Did you write down what we bet
Yes, I did.
and summarize away?
All right. We took Chicago on the money line going into Detroit. $10 bet pays $22.50. We took Seattle on the point spread. -3. Our single bet pays $21, shockingly enough. And then we took a 2-team parlay. We have Indy covering 8.5, and we have Kansas City covering 4.5. That bet pays us $36.45.
All right, winner, winner. So, if you want to check out the podcast, just go to iTunes or on your Android device, go to Stitcher.com. You can listen to it on our website, offensivelines.ca. Follow us on Twitter at offensivelines for any updates to the website or when our podcasts are available. Check us out on facebook.com/offensivelines. And if you want to contact us, shoot us an email at offensivelines@shaw.ca. I'm Boyd.
I'm Marlon, and that was Offensive Lines.
Generous fucking gambler.